Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To be honest, it's still unbelievable for me to have the opportunity to stand here on the stage of the TEDxXJTLU. 3 years ago, I was just a nobody working in a bicycle shop at Shanghai, as you can see on the left picture. But now, I can stand here to deliver, to share my stories on behalf of the students of the XJTLU. To be honest, I'm not the kind of traditional outstanding student who can do well in the classroom or who got really high GPA, who got the offer from Cambridge or Harvard, or who have already published their papers on the article journals, or who got really shiny resume. To be honest, I don't have this kind of fancy things on me. But I believe everyone has his or her own stories that deserve our listening. Everyone's life is just like a book that deserves our exploration. I'm just that kind of lucky guy whose story was heard by some people and intrigued some of the guys sitting here. And that's perhaps why the organizers of the XJTLU invited me to stand here and share these interesting stories about cycling and track to diplomacy. So let's go for cycling first. When it comes to cycling, what would came to your mind? It perhaps about the latest news that thousands of the university students ride the shared bicycles on the street all the way along from their different cities to Kaifeng, a city of Henan province. We do share the similar passion, but the cycling we do can be somehow different, as you can see on the picture. It's about more professional way of cycling. It's about mountain bike and road bike. Typically, I ride a bike for training and most of the time for competition, for joining a race. It's quite different from just a simple way of commuting. When it comes to professional cycling, it's more about dedication and perseverance. For the most of the time, I need to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning and ride hundreds of the kilometers till 4 to 5 p.m. in the afternoon. Sometimes if we do the climb training, we need to ride from the canyon to the summit of the mountain for several returns. Definitely it was challenging, and sometimes I often receive the calls from my classmates or my friends, and they would say like that, "Hey, Shuxing, it's time to count them out to play. Let's go to the bar and have some barbecue. Sorry, the Olympics is in 3 years and a half." I mean, I'm not really have the opportunity to go to Olympics, but definitely I would try to go for it. But cycling, especially the professional cycling, is definitely fascinating for me. I'll explain why it is that. Once I tried to challenge to cycle around the Taihu, it's about 240 kilometers away. Before the challenge, I don't think I can get it done. It's too far away. How can a man cycle for 240 kilometers within 8 hours? It sounds crazy. But I did organize a cycling event at that time when I was working in a bicycle club at Suzhou. So on that day, all the 16 riders along with me to begin the challenge to cycle around Taihu Lake. As you can see in the middle of the picture, that is me riding in the first place of the peloton. Why is that? Because I need to ride in the first place to reduce the air traction so that all the riders behind me could feel more easier to ride and they can feel more easier to finish the challenge. But vice versa for me, I need to consume more energy to finish the challenge. And at around the middle of the way, when we arrived at Yixing for about 160 kilometers, I just got exhausted. At that moment, I threw my bike away on the side of the road. and laid on the ground just like a dog, as you can see on the left picture. So at that time, I just really want to call my boss and really want to quit the challenge. I really want to call my colleagues on a sport vehicle to get out of the car and let me drive the car instead. But after struggling for a few minutes, I decided to continue the challenge. So we ride. At about 8 hours later, we finished the challenge. At the final point, I stood there in disbelief. Wow, that's amazing. I finished the challenge. I can ride for 240 kilometers a day. So I realized sometimes if you just put yourself a little bit harder and persist when you encountered any difficulties, you will get prized. You will know where your limit is. So do the hard thing, do the right thing, do things persistently. This is a lesson I learned from professional cycling. And this mentality really contributed to me. And I kind of realized sometimes this kind of mentality would really give you some unexpected opportunities. You know, last year when China University Cycling Association issued their notice about organizing a training camp for recruiting the national team athlete to join the World University Championship cycling at Costa Rica in June this year. So after hearing this, I was super excited. That's the opportunity I have waited for about 10 years. Now it's my time. Unfortunately, XJTLU is not a member of this association, so basically I cannot apply for this opportunity. That's so sad. But I don't think I should give up at that moment. So I write a long letter to the association to explain my situation and my past racing record and demonstrated my passion for cycling as well. Actually, after I clicked the send button on that day, I didn't anticipate that the association could reply me. So after about 2 weeks, I received an email, as you can see in the last. They would like to offer me a place to train in the training camp. That's a really, really happy day for me. That's my lucky day. I'm really excited about this email, and after a few seconds, I also feel tons of pressures on my shoulder because I'm worried whether I can be qualified of being a national team player. With these two different sentiments and these two different feelings, I go to the training camp and to start the 10 days training at Yunnan province. You know, it was unexpectedly challenged to undergo this training camp. Basically, we need to ride at least for about 120 kilometers every day. And sometimes in the afternoon, we even have to do the exercise in the gym. And the more challenging is the sprinting workouts. That really, really challenging for me. But finally, I found ways to conquer these pressures from training. I thought everything would go well and go smoothly, but unfortunately, on the 8th day, 2 days before the qualification trial, I broke my knee. That's quite unfortunate because I really feel painful every time when I paddle hard on my bike. I was considering whether to give up this qualification trial or not. But finally, I decided to continue the qualification trial on that rainy day, on that muddy circuit. If I continue, that means I need to take the risk to somehow it would break my knee. If I don't, I will definitely regret. So I took the challenge and took the race, and finally, fortunately, and out of my expectation, I got to be selected at that moment. So that was my lucky day as well. You see, this is the surprise that you got if you persist in doing anything, if you never surrender in the halfway, if you never give up in the halfway. This kind of mentality also contributed my professional development as well. You know, besides from cycling, I also a student of global affairs and international relations as well. Every day in the classroom, we do acquired quite a lot of knowledge about different places around the world, and we're also aware that the world we're living today is full of a rise of the challenges. Natural disasters, climate change, regional conflict, virus, big power competition. Every time when I learned about these issues and challenges existing in the world we're living today, I began to ask myself what I can do to somehow alleviate these challenges, what I can do to resolve these issues. I don't want to be a passive observer of the international relations and our domestic affairs. I don't want to be just a commentator of the international relations. The world is on fire in Gaza, in Ukraine and Russia, and in other places of the world. The world is on fire. As a student who learn the global affairs and international relations, I intrinsically feel I have the responsibility to not just sitting in a classroom and just learn the knowledge, but also I need to take actions to make difference. Because I firmly believe that countless people and boundless differences are all related to me. So I began to take actions into something I can reach out to. You know, after I got into the Xi'an University, I began to take part-time jobs during the weekends. I often go to the cycling club to work as a team captain to organize the cycling events so that I can get a salary. And I leverage part of my salary to do the charity work. Sometimes I would use part of my money to support a Chinese lady who is helping the kids in Gaza to offer the fresh water to them. And sometimes I will also support the students who got financial issues in my hometown, Yunnan province, and Guizhou province as well. While I am continuing these endeavors, I began to realize my personal effort is limited. I need to do something that could generate greater influences. I need to do something that could respond to the fundamental issues behind this problem. That is the track to diplomacy. Or before that, that is about the China-US relations. I began to realize I have the responsibility to respond to the challenges lies in the China-US relations currently. As we know, the current China-US relations experienced a lot of challenges during the recent period of time. And when we back to about 5 or 6 years ago, the China-US relations tend to be more cooperative, but now the dynamics tend to be more competitive. So it's really hard for them to make progress through the track one diplomacy. Despite through the track one channel, or we say the official diplomacy channel, China and US had a series of negotiations and activities, but it's really hard to make some progress during the current period of dynamics. So I was thinking, how can I make a difference? Then I got my answer. I got my solution as a young student in the university in Liverpool. That is track to diplomacy. There's a thing goes, whether you know this statement or not, it is a statement made by the Chinese President Xi Jinping last year when he visited the San Francisco. He said, "The hope of the China-US relationship lies on people. The foundation is in grassroots connections. Its future depends on youth. Its future depends on youth. And its vitality comes from the subnational exchange." So I suddenly realized the young people could really make a difference. As for me, I felt that I have the responsibility to somehow alleviate the tension between China and the United States, or even prevent this bilateral relationship from collapsing. The good China-US relations could not only benefit these two countries, but also generate the merit for other countries around the world as well. So I determined to find my ways to melt down the glaciers, the iceberg that lies between the China and the United States, to build the bridge across the Atlantic, build the bridge of communication, build a bridge of communication between Chinese young people and the young people from the United States. So here we go. We initiated the China-America Student Conference. This initiative is supported by the university students from China and the United States. We stand together to build the bridge of communication between these two countries among young peoples. This year in June, we held our fourth event in the United States at Chicago and DC. It lasted for about 14 days. And we went to a lot of fancy places like the State Department of the United States, the National Security Council, and the University of Chicago, and Chinese Embassy, Chinese Consulate as well, and quite a lot of places that we visited. But that's not important. The important thing is, through these opportunities, through these interactions, the young people from China and the United States got the time to interact with each other, to get to know with each other. And they build a friendship with each other. And do not underestimate the effects of this friendship. What if in 10 years, 20 years later, when these young people, like everyone sitting in this room, when you become the future leaders of your country, you will realize the friendship we made in that event in China or in the US really contributed my understanding between China and the United States. I believe this would inject positiveness in the practice of China-US relationship when we do the track to diplomacy among these young students. So, in next year, I will work with my team to have the fifth China-America Student Conference to come to China, and even it means that could be a really hard period of time. As we know, in the next year, the atmosphere could be more intensified. But we don't care. We will insist on building bridges of communication, even in a hard period of time between China and the United States. And we believe this is something hard, but something worthwhile to do, and we will do it persistently. And to be honest, it's not easy. sometimes my colleagues from the United States also often tell me that they encounter a lot of challenges, and also I can feel I encountered a lot of challenges to have this conference to be held in China. We don't have a lot of connections in China, to be honest, and also we are lack of personnel. But the good thing is we are gradually resolving this issue step by step. So every time when they consult whether we can go to China, when this concerns rise from the US students, I tell them, it's okay, as long as I'm here, I will find ways to bring you to China. I will find ways to have the 5th China-American Student Conference to be successfully held in China. It's hard, but I definitely believe that we will succeed and we'll get things done. I believe that one day, dream will defeat the reality. Thank you.